Hey everybody. So I'm just chilling out. I got an ice cream at this farm and this is my view. Pretty cool. And just enjoying a slower day. And sometimes people will ask, what is it that I got, like some pieces of chocolate in my teeth, so I'm chewing a piece of gum to get the little bit of chocolate out of my teeth. I know. People ask, how are you okay with a lot of like quiet time? I think it's like about building quiet into your day. So if you create a habit of unplugging, of enjoying time to just read a book, have a slower day, journal, pay attention to your environment, maybe get some extra rest in, like just really let your body just be. I think that after you do that, you kind of, it just becomes more of your norm. Again, that is if you allow it to be. Not to say that I don't ever go on my phone and scroll. I do. Not to say that I'm not always on my computer doing something to make a change in my future by, planning, creating, answering emails, all that stuff. I mean, I do all those things, but there is something to be said about unplugging, going slower, just enjoying the simplicity of things. Now, I will tell you, when I make plans to do something, and I have, let's just say, an agenda, and there are certain tasks that I want to get done, I'm going to put all my energy and my effort behind getting those tasks completed. And then when I get those tasks completed, and I'm ready for that change to occur, sometimes the timing of things don't always line up in the way that I want them to. And sometimes what you want is not really what you want, but you don't know that's not what you want because your agenda and what you've planned is that you want to go somewhere else. You want to have this different experience. You want to do these things. But then something happens, or there's an obstacle in your path, or the weather changes, or all of the above, and the circumstances kind of put you in a place of maybe you're not supposed to do that. Maybe you're supposed to just sit still. And I'm not here to say that as a 56-year-old woman that I don't get frustrated, because I do. Of course, I want things to happen in a certain amount of time. And, this whole idea of patience, and love is patient and kind, and sometimes we're put to a test of sitting with that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that I emptied my van because I had planned to do some work with my van. And in order to do that work, I really needed to get pretty much everything out of here. So I emptied the van. And then my inside space in my apartment was all piled up with stuff because the stuff that was in the van needed to go someplace, and then it gets stacked up in piles in my apartment. So then it's kind of unsettling inside because I have all this stuff that had to come out. And then my van is not really comfortable to have the things in it that I need in order to take the trips that I want to take and the things that I want to do. And because that stuff is inside, because I'm waiting to get some work done. And then the schedules don't line up and things get delayed. So then all my stuff is sitting in the apartment, and I'm frustrated because then when I'm in my van, I don't have all the things that I normally have in the van in order to do the things that I like to do. So then I wanted to test my idea. But in order to test my idea to see if everything would fit, I had to pull things into the van. So I put things back into the van and I set it up in a certain way, thinking that by doing it, I'm going to get my answer of whether or not my next vision of what I have for this van is going to work. So I made a bunch of changes and hauled things that were in the apartment back into the van to see if it would work in this particular way. And the gist of it is going to work. But again, it's like, it's an idea and I still have to plan it out a little bit more. And then I end up ordering more parts for this project after I talked to a couple experts. And now the parts are coming in, and so I was hoping that I could just keep the parts in the van and then have them with me, but I didn't realize how heavy all of these parts were going to be. And again, that when you don't have things secured and locked down, things move in a van. And so I wanted to get away and go to the beach and have a little getaway before I ended up doing the work. And it was like everything to pack this van up took 3 times longer than what I imagined it should. And sometimes you forget that, like, when everything is in place and in its quote spot, you forget how many trips and effort it took in order to get everything the way that you want it. And then I thought I was going to have a designated parking spot to visit a friend, and ends up I didn't. And with the busy season and everything, and after I get everything loaded in, it's like I just did not have the energy to drive. And I couldn't even believe it because I was so excited. I was so excited to go. Like, go to the beach. And here's what's weird. Everything was set up inside my van, in my driveway, and I was content in my driveway. I didn't need to go anywhere. And that's what was weird. Like, we psych ourselves up for these adventures. We psych ourselves up for going to all these different places. And then once I got like my own little comfort space back in the van, I was totally content. I was so fine. I fell asleep so fast. Just the idea of being in your own space with the things that you need, and not all the projects that are nagging at you to get this done, like all that's at the apartment. And it's weird how something happens to your brain, something happens to your body. It's like a deeper relaxation. It's a deeper letting go. It's a deeper I want to just be here now. So I really rested this weekend and just enjoying my little van and my space. And, my trusted friend, my Bible. You don't need a whole lot in order to be calm and okay. And we all may know this, and yet the idea is practicing this, like getting it to the place of acceptance. Like, this is what it is. I don't really need much. But then you need certain things in order to do the things in your life that you do in an apartment. And some of those things do take more effort to set up and, designate this spot for that and this spot for that. But even after it's all said and done, all the parts minus one part has arrived. So now I can do the work. But now all the stuff is in the van. I have to remove it again in order to do the work. So what I'm saying is, it's kind of like this process of patience. I was getting impatient that the van was empty because it's very hard to use your van in the way that you want to use it when it's pretty much empty. So then I brought in just the minimalist things so that I would be functional in my van during the weeks that, I still have things to do. And I like to have food in my van. I like to be able to, make something, blend up a smoothie or reheat some food or whatever. And I like to have that ability in my van. Once you have it, it's like I save so much money by making things myself instead of relying on eating out. So then I try my next idea of, well, all these things fit in this particular vision, but that requires me hauling things in to see if it will. And now I have all the parts and I'm waiting on the person who's going to help me do it. And I need to empty the van again. So it kind of feels like 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. And sometimes it feels like that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you're in your 20s and 30s, I don't think you really think about things like this. You have something to do, you do it. You set something up, you break it down. You set something up, you break it down. Maybe your body is just more accustomed to do these things at that age. But at 56, I get tired. I need to rest. All that crouching up and down, carrying things, lifting things. And I'm a strong person, but when I'm doing all this in the heat of 90-degree weather, it just affects me differently than when I was younger. And I'm just here to say that I'm willing to do the work. I am doing the work. It's just in this trusting phase of like, yes, you get a green light, go do it this way. And then you do something. And then there's this long delay. And then you start to doubt, second guess yourself, think maybe that's not the right timing, maybe everything isn't lining up at this moment. So you start to take the effort back in your own hands and you start doing things to then have to undo it again. So I'm just going to breathe through this process. I'm building up my muscles. That's all I got to say. And I have a better idea of what I want to do with this next version of what I'm creating. And in the whole process, I'm going to stay grateful. So I guess that's it. Yeah. So I hope you're enjoying your free time. I hope that you're putting your dreams on paper and that you are going after your dreams, whatever they may be. And that as things take a different turn or a different course of action, that you can just breathe, be gentle with yourself, and say, this is what it is, and just keep moving forward. So that's it for now. Have a good one.